This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol Live. What do you say we watch this low-speed chase? Low-speed chase currently going on in L.A.
You know, these surface streets, we know that there are more people, there are more pedestrians.
Sparkles, Libertad.
Kids walking around. So, again, this
is live.
Very residential area-esque.
There's apparently a rape suspect.
Yeah, well, now he's back on Manchester Boulevard, which is going to be more of a commercial street here.
Weed, you say? Give me just a second. I'd love to have some weed, Tadpole.
The problem with the pursuit that
I need to get high
extends and just kind of meanders like this, you know, the more opportunity you have for people to catch wind of it and try and catch a glimpse of it. So now everybody in the neighborhood is going to get the notification on their phone, and
the driver may have a weapon.
Catch a glimpse, or even
started about 30 minutes ago
through their neighborhood here or through their business district. But he's now made another turn onto La Cienega. We've been here before.
This is our second chase.
Revisiting some of the same area, and he had the opportunity to make a left onto the freeway there. Interestingly, he could have gone left. He could have gone left and got onto the southbound 405. He turned the other way and is now going the opposite direction, away from the freeway, westbound.
Does he have his phone in his hand? Is this motherfucker streaming too?
Random turns in the Westchester area. Again, we're just to the north of LAX, and if you
not high enough for this shit.
Glasgow here, that will take him right back to Century Boulevard, where he was just a few minutes ago. So he is starting to retrace some of his steps, and if that continues, then of course you do have the possibility of setting up for a spike strip if they can get somebody to the right place.
The hotel parking lot?
To a CarMax dealership.
This is live, Warlord. We have a live police chase.
He's moving through the area, just cutting through, it looks like, behind a Home Depot, coming onto a transition road that will give him, I think, again, it'll give him access to the freeway if he makes a right turn. If he makes a left turn, he may also be able to get on the freeway, but I'm not sure about that. We'll see what he does.
I love that the news reporter wants him to get on the freeway so bad.
There's an exit to the, or an entrance.
Like, run, Forrest, run!
South. They're all making that right northbound turn on La Cienega with him. And you notice that undercover vehicle that has joined the pursuit as well in the last several minutes. That I noticed that black SUV has stuck with this pursuit. He's kind of tailing the rest of this pursuit, interestingly enough.
Warlord, I almost picked a clip of James O'Brien destroying a far-right sympathizer.
That are continuing at a safe distance here, safe speed.
But it did not make the cut.
Right at the corner of
I do love James O'Brien an awful
Boulevard, in front of the Home Depot, next to the 405.
I'd really like to read his book.
Chris, or is it just he minding the red light?
He's at a red light. He's at a red light.
How They Broke Britain, I think is the name of it.
Yeah, he's obeying the traffic signal, and you see them in position. If he decides to surrender here, he's come to a complete stop, and they're ready to execute the felony arrest if he does open the door, show signs of surrendering. But again, so far, no signs of that, despite the fact that he's stopping for red lights and stop signs. He's not pulling over, he's not opening the door, he's not even showing signs of communicating with these officers yet. Sometimes
he's obeying
the
street lights
over the course of the pursuit.
He waited. He waited for a green.
Stopping to talk to other pedestrians or other motorists.
Mitochondria, we are live. This is a live chase.
This has been, not the most dynamic pursuit. He has been slow and steady this entire time, and
this has been a low-speed chase.
The half hour that we've been over it. So this pursuit going on for probably close to 45 minutes. That's a round number on my part. You guys might have a better estimation, but I think it's been about
45 minutes. Yeah.
First caught wind of this pursuit. Again, northbound La Cienega Boulevard. If you're just joining us on ABC7, you're taking a live look at an LAPD pursuit.
He has obeyed all traffic lights and traffic laws
of La Cienega and Arbor Vitae Street. You can see LAPD units stopping with him at each and every stop sign. It's a slow-speed pursuit. The driver behind the wheel wanted for sexual assault on an out-of-state warrant, possibly Boston.
Using his left and right turn indicators
from the entire time
clinically.
Had eyes on this pursuit, has been relatively composed, Not exceptionally high speeds by any means. Even
Also, I have an update on what happened with the chase earlier.
60 miles per hour at the fastest they've clocked him, and on these surface streets, he's actually going, I think, below the speed limit.
Yeah, I don't think he's gone.
60. That's the fastest he's gone.
Ready. Spike strip ready. He went around the spike strip and ventured into oncoming traffic to get around that spike.
And then it looks
So
like
I'm told
they're
there was
speeding
a
up.
spike strip there. They were anticipating.
That's what I thought that cop was doing, was just going to walk up to him.
Now they have some opportunity here to set up for these spike attempts ahead of the suspect. They're going to try again here. We'll see what happens, but it looks like the road is opened up here for him.
Yeah, rape suspect is pretty unsavory.
He's westbound through Inglewood.
Yeah.
And we'll see if this
Westchester, I should
escalates his driving.
You can stop and get a taco.
Talked about, once you
Ford, good evening.
once law enforcement shows signs, now he's pulling into a gas station. Look at this.
They're
Pulling into a
surrounding
gas station, doing the loop-de-loop.
Uh,
Obviously was never going to have a chance to get gas, but is he using this to make the U-turn, or is he starting to run low on gas? What is the mental situation
goodness,
behind the
yeah.
wheel here? That's what you're wondering now, because with that spike attempt, you could already see things are getting a little bit more aggressive, a little hairier for law enforcement here. You see them kind of all making that U-turn with him and then continuing in the original direction he was going in. So it's really a game of cat and mouse. You get the impression he's not really familiar with the area, and
apparently he's from Boston.
We'll see how this plays out, guys.
It'll be nice if he actually is low on gas, and that's the reason he was going in there, but we can...
No. Also, Chris, moments ago,
He's gonna get out and pump.
just a few moments ago, you zoomed in on the inside the.
Here comes the pit.
Oh.
Here comes the pit behind that building,
Oh.
and he's speeding up. Look at
Okay.
that.
Wow.
He's speeding up. He saw him race up right behind his right fender, and sure enough, he sped up to evade the pit maneuver. I'm sorry to step on you, Ellen.
No,
Things
it's okay.
sped up really quickly there, and you saw that primary unit got the go-ahead to do the pit maneuver. They had a perfect opportunity there, and sure enough, just like he went into oncoming lanes of traffic to get around the spike strip, he sped up to evade that pit maneuver. And now, this is the problem. This is exactly what we've been discussing over the last several minutes. If you start to get aggressive with him, he now is showing willingness to drive more aggressively to evade those officers. And now, things are inherently amped up to a slightly more dangerous level, you'd say.
They certainly
Amazing.
Are. But I'm curious though. You know, moments ago we were talking about it. If that suspect, we talked about the suspect possibly being armed, and when you zoomed in, boy, it looks like this police officer is going to try the pit maneuver again. Ooh, gets right up behind them. If that person did have
Has been obeying all traffic laws.
Right. So now that they have that knowledge, they have this.
He's stopping now.
A weapon in the vehicle there. They're going to treat it very carefully, but they feel comfortable in this situation that they have enough units in place where they can, spin the vehicle out and make the felony arrest. They have units ready. Again, each of these cruisers have 2 officers in them. They will immediately point their guns to that driver if he pulls anything scary or threatens those officers in any way. But the hope is that once the vehicle is immobilized, he will hopefully...
He's not even keeping up with the flow of traffic.
They don't want this to continue too long, because the longer it goes, the higher the risk. Because eventually, the driving is the behavior behind the wheel here, we've already seen it changing slightly. And of course, if you agitate the driver too much, you start to increase the risk for all of these innocent motorists who are just trying to get home on a Thursday
Like how many chases have we covered in just the last couple of weeks?
Approaching
It's been like 10.
Yeah, we're just a
It's
couple
an everyday
of
occurrence in LA.
Did that
There's
driver
been
ever
2
hit
today.
either one of those spike strips? I know we were looking at it closely, but I just keep looking at that front passenger side wheel, and it looks slightly lower, but maybe just the rims are really big.
Yeah, I don't think so, but it was behind that building, so that's just my...
Are your rims really big, or are you just happy to see me?
But once we get a little bit of a better look, a closer look, we might see if that tire is behaving any differently. Right now, he seems to be driving, again, relatively normal as he, continues now northbound on Sepulveda Boulevard. So now northbound Sepulveda, away from LAX. That's a good thing. He's coming towards us. We're going
We
to
do have plenty of news for you
You
tonight.
can see it looks like the vehicle is
Apparently Taylor Swift
driving,
is a witch.
nominally here. So here comes another pit attempt.
Uh-oh.
Up the
Here we-
right
oh,
side.
oh. Missed him.
Wow.
Got a piece of the bumper, though, it looks like.
Oh
A
boy.
little bit of a, I don't know, almost a weak attempt there. He didn't really speed up there. He just kind of,
The slight miss.
it's almost like he's got this car in cruise control, but I don't know if that officer had second thoughts. He
Energy flow.
really close to him.
He did,
May
yeah.
have even kissed the back bumper. I'm not sure. It's
I think he
difficult
got
to
a
tell
piece
from
of
this
him.
angle, but he certainly slowed down at the last second there, and it looks like the driver is drinking a bottle of water as he continues this joyride. So
Politically,
northbound
dropping some
Smallville
knowledge on us here.
continuing the chase, and
The front-mounted
certainly
machine gun.
obviously well aware of those officers in the rear view as he's able to, evade.
I
these
do
pit
believe this is a
maneuvers
white
and drive
guy.
around these spike strips. Something tells me he's
I don't know what that matters
very
to
in as long as
anything.
He's got gas in the tank.
DJ Dub.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I feel
Very
like
upset
we're
it's a
all
white
more
guy.
anxious than
Well,
driving.
fuck.
With the, driving with all
Here
these
comes
law
another.
enforcement. Come on, let's see if I tell you. Every time the police officer gets very close, he does speed up.
Once again, we are live. This is live out of LA.
You have to feel for these officers because in a situation like this, he could have a wide open berth on Sepulveda Boulevard 1 second, and then, on a dime, things could change. There could be cross traffic. There could be.
This is apparently a rape suspect out of
There's just not enough
Boston.
space for a pit maneuver. Way too many drivers on Sepulveda.
I
Boulevard.
don't know how they know that.
Time would have been a little bit early on some of those surface streets where there was virtually no traffic. Now it's a little bit more of a precarious situation. I was a little surprised actually to see that attempt on Sepulveda, to be quite honest with you, but that may be why the officer slowed down at the last second there. He might have seen something
Coming up on rush hour traffic as well
They
in
don't wanna spin
LA.
out unless they have almost a
It is
full 4 lanes.
4:45
You don't want them crashing into
p.m.
parked cars,
Pacific
private
time.
property. You don't want to see
Venus, good evening.
a more dangerous situation with oncoming traffic. So it's got to be an area, a stretch of roadway where there's really nobody at risk, and that's what they're looking for. The speeds are not a problem. At these speeds, he is traveling at perfect pit maneuver threshold, but it's the congestion in the area that
Don't give 'em a chance, coppers.
But once they see that especially now that
Don't
you've
mind
seen
if I
those
do,
first two attempts,
Borg.
we've now seen 2 attempts that we could say for sure.
Might need to pack another
pit
one.
this
It wasn't
guy.
a
They
fresh
see another
bowl when I started
opportunity.
smoking on
I
it.
think that third pit is almost inevitable.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see it's amazing to see how light the traffic is right now.
What's your favorite color, baby?
Hour, but again, this driver is definitely just going to kind of stay
Favorite
course,
color.
going in directions that seems like they actually do not know where they're going, and maybe they'll get back on that 405 and get stuck.
yes.
But
Because they
again,
want to
we're
come,
watching, you
maybe
can see
do the
marine layer kind
conga.
of obstructing a little bit of the clarity that as we see this suspect just
Take your
stop
maracas, you can't take
Has
it
he
any
been in this
longer.
intersection before? It seems like
fucked I fucked the
still
lyrics
circling in
up.
that same general vicinity.
We're in the vicinity. In fact,
Ain't listened to Gloria Estefan in
access to the
fucking
405 freeway, and I've got
30
marine
years.
layers moving in quick.
Wow.
So we've got an LAPD airship right overhead, and he may have only one more pass as the marine layer obscures this pursuit completely unless
Wow.
he makes an eastbound turn. He doesn't realize it. He doesn't realize. So he's traveling north. He's continuing north here, and if he made an eastbound turn, that would have been great. But as the marine layer moves in here, all of these helicopters are gonna have to. Well, he will be out of visibility pretty soon here if he continues northbound. That's what I'm trying to say. He doesn't realize it, but he's actually doing the right thing. If he's trying to lose the helicopters, it'll be ground units to finish this pursuit. If the marine layer does indeed.
Yes, they call the
Certainly is. You can see it.
they call the LAPD helicopter
Just a
the
second, You'll be
airship.
able to see a thick layer of clouds that are about to completely cover this part of West LA. So continuing up through Fox Hills, we're at the Fox Hills Mall, up Sepulveda at the Fox Hills Mall, continuing at a slow speed, relatively slow speed, I would say maybe 35, 40 miles per hour, a relatively empty
This sucks for us though.
stretch of road here. we may see another pit attempt, or they may just continue northbound here. Looks like they're continuing northbound again. He's doing a perfect
Dalton,
speed.
what? What are you talking about?
Miles per hour. If they see the opportunity, I have to believe they're going to go ahead with it. He's going underneath the 90 freeway now. He's had several attempts in the last few minutes to get onto a freeway, and that might be the first red light he's run. I'm not sure. I think he had a red light there. Don't quote me, but I think that was a red light. This is definitely a red light. He's stopping with traffic here, and he's patiently waiting behind.
And people in line are like, "Is that the dude they're chasing?"
Videotaping them.
Yeah,
He's getting away
well,
from
you know.
him.
Yeah, they hear the sirens, right? These all of the drivers at this intersection hear the lights and sirens. They could see the commotion. They can see the commotion. They see the helicopter flying overhead. Something is up here, and now you take a very hands-off approach if you're that primary unit. You got to let them get through this intersection, get away from all of these innocent people before you do anything else. You don't want to agitate him at a stopped red light here, and he is stopped. He is waiting patiently behind this traffic, and they will continue the joyride with him here, northbound Sepulveda Boulevard. But you could just tell in the last 10 to 15 minutes, there's just a different energy down there. If he continues, they're going to have to employ more tactics, especially after giving those initial go-aheads for the pit maneuver and the spike strip. Now they're really committed. Now they've got to follow this all the way through until this comes to an end.
Chris, we're showing on the right side of your screen the failed pit maneuver attempts that happened just a few minutes ago. And you can see, you know, they got pretty close, but then they sort of backed away, and perhaps other factors came into play, other cars there. But there you see the attempt, and it was so close.
I do think that he touched.
It might have clipped him, yeah.
Maybe just like you said, Chris, like a little kiss. But we are seeing that, and you are absolutely right that the energy of this pursuit has definitely been ratcheted up because of those pit maneuver attempts. And it looks like they're trying to do it again on the left-hand side.
Yeah, it looks like they want to give it another go here. He's speeding up. The minute he sees that primary unit come up behind him, he speeds up. He's once again stopped at a red light. What I was going to note there,
this is our second chase of the day.
3 or 4 times in the last few minutes, he's had
this is live out of LA.
Opportunity to get on the freeway, and he's bypassed all of those opportunities. Again, just trying to.
I love that the reporter wants him to get on the freeway, but I can't say freeway today.
Appear like he wants to get on the freeway, and again, every attempt at a pit maneuver, he just steps on the gas, floors it, and slows down again. So it's a game of cat and mouse. We use that phrase all the time, but this is a quintessential scenario where it's really, you know, it's a tough game. It's a game of whack-a-mole, because the minute you try and, you know, speed up behind him, he speeds up, and you know, here he comes.
Oh, here he comes.
Here he comes, speeding up right behind him, and the pursuit vehicle speeds up again. Yep.
So curious, because if he really wanted to get away, you'd think he'd start speeding like we've seen in other pursuits. Yet
Damn!
He speeds up when they attempt that pit maneuver.
Yeah, when they try to apprehend him,
curious.
that's when he.
I didn't even buy my own weed. Juicer just gave me a little weed.
Floors it.
You guys want me to smoke it all in one go?
Goes back to a very calm pursuit, except for
LA hotboxing
You
it.
could see how quickly. I know we're pretty far away, but this driver is definitely driving.
I'm like, she gave me just a little bit of weed.
And being a little bit more aggressive as they approach these intersections.
Well, it's like more than a quarter.
Because he speeds up once he sees that primary unit come up right behind him. He's basically, he's basically going at their pace until they try to pit him, and then he speeds up. But then the minute he gets a little bit of distance, he slows down pretty much with speed limit, with traffic.
One up, did one back.
He stopped at Sepulveda and Washington Boulevard. Now, we are getting more information trickling in here. He is apparently also wanted for robbery. Oh. So you could tell, as the information comes in here, you could tell this is not, not the best guy behind the wheel here, despite the tame nature.
We can't all be reading the classics.
Sexual assault,
Professor Highbrow.
robbery, possibly armed, obviously unwilling to give up here. He's wanted out of another
He ran a red
jurisdiction.
light.
They are probably
Just
communicating with that jurisdiction, wherever it is, perhaps Boston PD, and trying to get as much intel as they can. The only benefit there, well, there's a lot of benefits. One of the benefits is maybe they can get a relative on the line or somehow communicate with the suspect. Now, there's also a possibility, and we're hearing that this may be a likely possibility, something that we've been seeing more of in recent years. He may be listening to this pursuit.
I think Copter Man is rooting for the suspect.
The pursuit. So
I think he's exactly like me.
that he is on the phone or has access.
Uh-oh, are we going to the freeway?
And is following along on his either on his phone or perhaps on the radio. You just never know.
Right.
He's
And now,
listening. You really should just give yourself
Here
up
we go.
and end this, and stop putting other people in peril and just turn.
Life is a highway.
Stop.
God damn it.
just give it up.
Yeah,
They
they're not
do
gonna get anywhere.
I mean, 99.9% of the time, these people are apprehended. But looks like they're on the freeway, but it doesn't show at 405 North.
405 North.
I thought at a moment it said Venice Boulevard. But yeah, it's so they're on the 405 North. You can see that marine layer moving in. Again, our visibility is becoming reduced.
Roll
And
Tide.
I'm not sure if they ever try pit maneuvers on the freeway. I certainly, unless it's like this, kind of-
LAPD doesn't.
they're not going to try it when there's this many
Fox, good
motorists on the
evening.
road.
Yeah, no, that pit maneuver tactic is now off the table. That's been
Rape
sidelined.
suspect.
And you mentioned it as we were talking there. He did take the opportunity for the first time in a while.
Sparkle's talking like she's an
on the
OG
freeway, northbound side of the 405 freeway in the middle of
from
rush hour
SoCal.
on National Boulevard.
Knows all the shortcuts
for
to
any
take.
gap in traffic to put a little bit of distance between him and that primary unit, but they're following at a safe distance, not having a problem. You can see him
At
slowing
5
down
fucking
traffic. How
p.m.
much weaving we start to see here. That's something we always
That
look
is
for
another thing
once
to
they
keep
find
in mind. It is
themselves in a little
5
bit
p.
of a bind,
God
but it
damn
is
God.
on the 405, not nearly as empty as it was earlier in this pursuit.
I'm not even done with all of them.
And again, that poses, on one hand, it poses more danger.
I'm not
On the other,
done
it is the
coughing.
safest of all other options, as opposed to a surface street.
Does seem kind of light for 5 p.m., but it's also it's 4:55.
The freeway
We're getting ready to be 5 p.m. So
is the ideal place. You just wish there was
in
less traffic.
15 minutes, it's gonna be fucking packed.
You don't want any crossfire situations. You don't want him crashing into anybody if he gets spooked, stuff like that. But right now, as we speculate about all of those possibilities, for the most part, he is continuing to drive relatively safely, dare I say. I mean, he's really not posing an immediate risk, which means they have the luxury of following this all the way through. And probably, in all likelihood, if they don't hand this off to California Highway Patrol, they will start to get to the point where they start talking.
I'm just assuming the worst of it is like
or transferring
5:10
this pursuit over
to
a
6:45.
new group of LAPD officers.
Also, I don't know this from
is still
experience.
all LAPD.
I've never driven
behind
in
this vehicle. We have
California.
not seen them swap out any
Both
of the
times I've
units
been to
yet,
California,
but
I have
you would imagine,
flown.
just judging on the length of this pursuit.
Yeah. After 3 p.m.,
hand
it's
this off to a
insane.
new set of eyes and a new set
But
of
Mox, I waited until like 1 o'clock in the middle of the night
New set of anchors right now.
to leave Atlanta one time, and it was still insane. So
Alongside me, I'm Giovanna Lotta, and we are continuing to follow
Giovanna Lotta.
news. In the
Hey, for everyone on Twitch, I'm gonna go ahead and hit a commercial break for you, so we get it out of the way. Nobody misses any
the
news.
suspect in this vehicle wanted for.
We've got all kinds of shit coming on up on the other side of this police chase. Far right talk show host Allie Stuckey says that Taylor Swift is a witch. She brought on a medium to talk about demon possession and how Taylor Swift is demonic, which she may have a point. We've seen Taylor Swift stabbings and now a Taylor Swift terror plot. We have new updates in the Taylor Swift terror plot. I'm going to give you the lowdown on Ukraine invading Russia. Russia is screaming that Ukraine invading its territory. We have new body cam footage of the Trump shooting. Harris has responded to Trump's request for debates. A man who served with Tim Walz is going to give you the rundown on his military record. I'm going to tell you about the outcome of the chase we watched earlier in the day. Hunter Biden is a foreign agent. And 20 years ago today, Dave Matthews took a dump on Chicago. All that and a lot freaking more on the other side of the break here on the Troll Patrol Live. Back to the chase.
Past the 10? I think he just passed. Yeah, he just passed the 10 freeway on the northbound side of the 405, Giovanna.
Giovanna.
And as you mentioned, we've been following this now since about 4 o'clock.
Duck boat.
What's different about this pursuit is that this driver has been really driving.
20 years ago today, he took a shit on Chicago.
We've seen other pursuits where suspects are speeding.
I love that they keep fucking bringing it up. There's always stories about
He's
it.
only done this once or twice when he's trying to avoid those spike strips, right?
Yeah, I mean, for the most
How
part,
have they not boxed him in yet?
we haven't seen a lot of lane changing. Now you see him starting to weave a little bit more, and you know he was hugging the left lane for a short time, but now as he ventures over to the right,
I like Chicago.
all those motorists hear the lights and sirens behind him, and he is just looking for gaps in traffic.
I haven't spent enough time in Chicago. I have flown
everybody's trying
through
to move
Chicago.
to make way.
So
for
I've
the
been
pursuit.
in O'Hare. Yeah, that's 5 o'clock traffic in
Considering
L.A.
the time of day here. Thankfully, he is driving nice and slowly at a very safe speed. If that was not the case, this could get very.
And I've driven through Chicago,
It is
but I've never actually got out and got to spend some
at
time in
the, safe
Chicago.
Speed here. We'll see if they try and get.
I can't really give you a good assessment on what's going on in Chicago.
Behind him here, still keeping his distance here. They're not going to get too close with all of these innocent motorists.
Been there, but haven't really been there. You know what I'm
They
saying?
have already attempted several pit maneuvers over the course of this pursuit, but now that we're on the freeway, that's pretty much off the table for the time being. But they may pull up next to him to get a better look inside the vehicle or even try and communicate with the suspect. But again,
Dope, I'm wondering the same thing. They almost ran up on him one
matter
time.
of time, right? You're just kind of waiting for those opportunities.
The
and
sniper
trying to
attempt.
follow at a safe speed until he eventually gives up or this ends some other way. But right now, it is we're in stasis here. I mean, he's really just maintaining control of the vehicle
Israeli.
and taking police along for a joyride here.
The cops do believe he has a gun. It says it right now. Possibly pursuit suspect, possibly
Chris, you mentioned
armed.
the traffic. When
So they're
this
going to be
first
big
started
pussies
around
about
4
it.
o'clock, it was kind of an unusual sight because there wasn't much traffic on the freeway, which kind of would have given officers maybe some different options at that point. Now that traffic has picked up as rush hour really gets underway right now at 5 o'clock, what options do these officers have as they're trying to bring this to a close and you've got so many other people on the road trying to make their way home from work?
Yeah, the option, unfortunately, is to keep your distance and wait it out. Let him get through the traffic, maybe get off the freeway, but at these speeds and with this much traffic, you don't want to do anything to agitate him in this situation. There's just too many lives on the stage here, and they're going to try and keep him as calm and relaxed as possible. These are all the same Harbor Division units that initiated this pursuit over an hour ago in South LA, or in the Harbor Division in Wilmington, I should say. And they are the same officers who are continuing this pursuit as we make our way through West LA. Now we are getting, again, a few more details here. Apparently, this is a
I love L.A.
that has been wanted out of the East Coast that they are following here. So as we learn more about this suspect, it is very obvious now why they are not letting up any pressure on him. They are treating him with kid glove care, especially considering the possibility that he's armed. And now, based on these charges and the warrants that are being revealed here, they are dealing with a wanted man behind the wheel here that they are not going to give up on. This is not a pursuit that they will just give up. But we see that frequently now, in recent times, where they just basically decide, you know what, it's not worth it. The resources, for whatever reason, they just decide to let it go. This is not that situation. They are going to continue to apply pressure where it's safe, and where it's not safe, they will keep their distance and just follow slowly behind, hopefully at a nice casual pace here, doing below
Nice
freeway
casual
speed
pace.
in the middle of rush hour, northbound side,
In the middle of rush hour.
approaching Santa Monica.
Yeah, Chris, and just to clarify, these Harbor Division Patrol officers were trying to enforce that out-of-state warrant. Now, as you're saying, there are several warrants, and he was a serial rapist.
Serial rapist?
And so they were trying to enforce that out-of-state warrant, and that is when the pursuit started. And I was also going to point out what you just said.
Robbery, rapist, and running a red light.
Some of the pursuits we've seen recently, authorities have really backed off. We haven't seen these many patrol vehicles tailing the suspect vehicle, but in this case, we've seen 5 patrol cars, and as you mentioned, they are staying very close to this vehicle.
Yeah, they've got 6 or 7 that have been following him all the way through here, and I think he's coming up on
they're a cop from
the
Boston
City area here as he makes his way. He looks like he is on the phone. He has his right hand up to his right ear. There's the spike strip attempt. He went right around the spike, and instead of turning onto Santa Monica, he just continued up Cotner Avenue here, now paralleling the 405 freeway. So he's going to have another opportunity to get back on the freeway. But in that, they had a great opportunity. They tried to spike him there.
Worry about what it might do for nearby businesses or people in their cars.
If he stayed on that service road,
cars.
they probably, in all likelihood, it's literally a service road that parallels the 405.
Welcome back, everyone that was on commercial break.
The vehicle, but he took that 405 entrance, and once again, we are back in this heavy 405 rush hour traffic approaching Wilshire Boulevard in Westwood as he makes his way northbound toward
low-speed chase.
We may very well find ourselves.
This is our usual time that we come on for Troll Patrol. So hold on. Let me pull one of these.
This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol live. It's a freaking Thursday. Back to this police chase.
Where he wants to end up.
M. Lord, welcome.
Decisive. He has shown no clear signs of aiming in any particular direction or any specific destination. He has been making mostly random moves, random turns.
You don't like the opening?
And even on the freeway, he's gotten off, gotten back on, gone the opposite direction. He just is obviously making it up as he goes along. He is not very animated there. He seems to be on the phone. They think he may be communicating with somebody or perhaps even streaming the pursuit inside the vehicle.
That's what I was thinking.
Seen him take a chug of water here and there. There's a water bottle in the center console there. So he is now on Wilshire
I bet he's streaming.
Making his way westbound through the Wilshire corridor, coming up off the nose here. Now there's a little bit.
He on
less
Facebook
traffic.
Live.
Not exactly an empty Wilshire Boulevard, but if they see enough of a wide open space, this could be another situation where they attempt a pit maneuver.
I think that's earlier.
The corridor does slow down a little bit. A lot of traffic lights through here, even in moderate traffic.
Trip me out with these replays on the side.
On Wilshire Boulevard, but maybe if he gets off, maybe if he pulls off into one of these side streets along Wilshire, then they'll try it again. Coming through the corridor here.
So this is downtown LA.
The east side of the corridor with another spike strip. That's always a possibility as well. So they are strategizing. They're trying to think ahead, even though he has not really established a real clear pattern here. He's making it all up as he goes along, but he's traveling slow enough. That slow speed is giving the watch commander, who is also monitoring this pursuit very closely, more options to think about and deliberate on as this pursuit drags on through the afternoon here. We are now in hour number 2 of this pursuit as he continues westbound on Wilshire Boulevard, coming to a stop potentially at one of these red lights. He has stopped for almost every single red light. He's made a left turn off of Wilshire Boulevard, and he is now on one of those surface streets right behind the condominiums on Wilshire. He's now going, again, the opposite way on a surface street. He's going now westbound. He's going westbound
towards UCLA
on Shelby, approaching Malcolm Avenue here, and if they see an opportunity, I think we might see another pit attempt. We'll see.
Yeah, but yielding to traffic, we saw that white car kind of turn around the corner there, and the driver there was at least cautious enough and considerate enough not to be blowing through stop signs and kind of creating more havoc on the road.
The most polite chase.
Knowing this, but at this point, driving around for an hour plus, how much gas is left?
But also,
we certainly don't know. But as it appears, based off what we've seen for the past hour, this person
got plenty
just
of car left.
driving around and making
Car's not banged up.
decisions as they try to figure out.
We have
what's
no
next.
indication
Maybe
there's
we
any
will
sort
see
of
at some point
damage
they,
that would hamper its
run out
performance.
of fuel that is helping to keep them going on this pursuit, but we have no way of knowing that. Also, too, Chris, wanted to ask.
That's
we
what
have no way of knowing.
brings chases to a close a lot of times.
Law enforcement.
Here we go with the spike strips again.
Here comes an LAPD officer running up to the vehicle, trying to spike the vehicle. And
Part of it.
that might have hit that front.
Got part of it.
Guys, that could very well be the beginning of the end. That looked like a really solid hit here, and as he makes his way through Westwood, you're starting to see a lot more pedestrian traffic here. We're just south of UCLA. They have executed a possible successful spike on the front left tire of that vehicle. He is now speeding up. He is much more agitated, and he is in the worst.
Yeah. We've seen 2 or 3 of them.
Recklessly, he has been, so composed over the course.
They've
of this
attempted a
pursuit.
pit maneuver a couple different
I
times.
can't think of a worse spot to amp things up here, and unfortunately, we are seeing him start to speed up a little bit here. He's coming to another red light, going through the red, and he's continuing northbound on Westwood Boulevard towards UCLA, and we're going to try and stay on the drive.
I do believe that tire's flat. Oh yeah, it is.
Tire is starting to go flat. You guys, believe it or not,
It's
might
done
actually have a
for.
better glimpse than I do on my monitor.
I think both of them. I think both the left side tires.
Bleed off on that front left tire.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It looks flat from my perspective.
Yeah.
Both left tires are blown.
It took a hit there. But this is the worst area
We
that
stopped.
things can escalate in because you are near UCLA.
Are you gonna try to continue? Is he gonna? He's gonna. Oh shit! He's gonna go.
Westwood all the time. Lots of pedestrian traffic. There are stores, grocery stores. Just a lot of pedestrian activity, and I would hate for this to escalate into a dangerous situation. He is stopped right now. Is this a red light or a stop? But he's very close. I mean, this is LeConte right in front of UCLA. I would hate to have him.
There are people going through the crosswalk. He's yielding.
You've got a lot of people. I mean, it's one of the probably one of the most pedestrian-heavy areas in all of LA. Here in the heart of Westwood, where there are students.
The light must have just changed.
Around there's restaurants and everything you can imagine in this area near the.
He's totally riding on a
right by the
flat.
movie theater and continuing northbound as that tire starts to run low. We can only.
He's using his turn signal.
That vehicle comes to a stop. Now, one flat tire is likely not going to be enough to really stop a vehicle of this size. I mean, this is a very capable, almost looks like a brand new Lincoln Aviator that is capable of running on a flat tire here. So
now he's on campus.
He is on campus. He has just made a left turn into campus.
You will see sparks. It'll take a little bit because he's not got any speed.
Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. That's actually the Jules Stein Ice Center.
You will see sparks
on the other side.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Also, the scary part here too, we've mentioned that this individual may be armed. So when you're considering that they're on campus now and that there are students there, pedestrians, people walking around, after the car comes to a stop, then you don't know what happens next. So that's kind of the extended fear, that could be.
Could be moments away from it, Warlord.
Is that the vehicle there? Is it still?
Yeah, the vehicle is over here.
Right here. Okay.
You saw an officer at the other end of this turnaround. It's a turnabout that's going to put him back onto Westwood Boulevard here. So
where's he going to go?
Plaza. It's basically like a driveway. He's going to come out the other side, and you can see on the left side there's an officer waiting for him. So we will see if they make another attempt at possibly, if they set it up correctly, maybe trying for the right tire. They know that they have one left tire flat. He's running on a flat tire. Maybe they will give another attempt at the right tire. But right now, he's stuck in hospital traffic in the middle.
Hospital traffic.
In the heart of UCLA. Here come more officers running towards the exit of that turnaround. And there's the spike strip.
Right.
There's the spike strip. We'll see.
And then
They're going to pull it back. They're going to pull it back. He may or may not already see it, but they're going to try and sneak up on him and try this one more time. This would be, I think, the third spike attempt. We know we've got one successful, and if with any luck, maybe they can aim
I feel
for
like it's
that,
the fourth.
that right side.
Right, but such a recipe for danger. I mean, with all of these people in their cars, at any time he can get out. We've heard reports that he might be armed. He is a serial rapist, you know, a suspected.
A serial rapist.
Is obviously trying to avoid and flee from police. We don't know what he's capable of.
Look at him. He's trying to evade.
Oh my God!
So they threw the spike strip down. It fell just short of the vehicle.
They had
Instead
him.
of coming out, I think he's going to end up going around again. We may make our way around this turnabout again. I think we're still on hospital property. He's going to stay on the property he has. He's gone all the way around. And he's circling the driveway here. This is bizarre, guys.
And there's
it's an
underground
unbelievable
parking,
situation.
too.
Yeah, there's underground parking too. You're right.
You just have to wonder at these moments what is going through this individual's head, and we have no way of knowing, obviously. But to go back into that hospital roundabout seems unlikely, like an unlikely plan. And then we have people outside that are
Should have drove through the crosswalk.
videotaping.
Yeah, I mean, now you have, again, we're in the heart of Westwood here near UCLA, right at the hospital. There are tons of people who are well aware of this pursuit. The lights and sirens are blaring. They're getting citizen alerts. They're probably streaming it on ABC7 right now, and you can see this has turned into a real game of cat and mouse as they try and figure out how to bring this to a peaceful resolution without exposing anybody to danger. You think of all of the opportunities that we may have seen earlier where there was not as much collateral in the way. Now you see all kinds of risks.
Wow.
They decide to use force for any reason. If they're put in a position where he threatens these officers, they just have so few options at their disposal with so many innocent people walking around, driving around in a hospital setting like this. It is a nightmare.
Well, at least they're close to the hospital if somebody dies.
Speed, boring pursuit. This has turned into a really nerve-wracking situation, and just like that, things have
Cops
taken
are
on
getting
an
out.
entirely different turn with now two separate spike attempts. At least one was successful. He's driving on a left flat tire, and now we're going to see another spike attempt as they cover the entire lane. He's almost got nowhere to go. If he's going to get out of this predicament, he's going to end up probably driving over that spike strip.
And
that in that case, if he does, I just want to say here, this time, if he is blocked, opening the door.
We have a syringe. That's probably the best thing.
Popped open.
You want to get out of this alive.
Let's see, just widen out just a smidge here. We want to see those officers. They've got their guns out, trained on the suspect. Is he showing hands?
He was
you saw
showing hands, yes.
at least his left hand.
Yes.
He's showing hands. I think at least his left hand. He is attempting to exit the vehicle with his arms and hands
surrendered.
now clearly visible. The suspect deciding time is up after an hour.
Oh, they'll make him get down and get on the ground.
Exiting the vehicle, albeit very slowly, following the commands of those.
Looks like he's having a hard time getting out.
Probably the best case scenario here, considering all of the other ways.
I don't think he has a lot of mobility.
So
I don't think running on foot was ever an option.
About to surrender to these LAPD officers, but man, what a dramatic end indeed, as he really has come to a stop.
Well, I didn't want to say that, but that appears.
So many pedestrians around here. It does.
He may be old.
Like he's coming out empty-handed, even though they are.
He may be quite large.
The assumption that he is armed and dangerous. Again, he is wanted for robbery. He is a serial rape suspect out of Boston, we believe, and it does look like they're gonna take this suspect into custody any minute here. He looks like he is.
It looks like he is injured.
Moving a little slow here. He's having a little trouble balancing or walking.
Looks like he can't.
Don't know if he's, Don't know if he's
deal breaker, really?
In any way, or if he's.
It's kind of my domain. I'm the one that does the car chases.
These are all, even though this is kind of the end to the pursuit and we see him out of
It was a fun chase.
When we're watching these things, these seem to always be the most tense moments where anything could kind of happen or go wrong. So it's great that he's finally come to a stop and is out of the vehicle and the officers seem to be in control.
Do the worm back to us.
Give me kind of the most anxiety.
Because you're exactly right, Michelle. This is one of the most dangerous, aside from all of the other, inherent dangers of a pursuit. It's the end, the unpredictability of what his next move is going to be. Now, all indications are here. He does not appear to pose a threat, but looks could be deceiving, and they can't make any assumptions. And in an area where there is so much other, activity here,
It's actually Colin Farrell as the
cleared the
penguin.
area, and they now basically, it appears to me they've been able to get other people out of the way. There were a lot of pedestrians on that curb a short time ago, and now everybody has backed away. They're going to clear the vehicle, even though he's having trouble. This is very unusual.
Holiday, I tell you, good evening.
Where they clear the vehicle.
Socialist aunt, welcome. Good evening.
Walking towards those officers, but he is not.
We got here for the conclusion.
Approach him nicely.
What has been a slow speed chase.
Likely
with the most polite suspect ever.
In short order, but it does look.
Obeyed all traffic laws.
All of his faculties.
Torchy, good evening.
Thankfully, he is now in police custody. Ding dong, this has come to a peaceful end.
This was a slow speed chase. This is live out of LA.
And it was you can say it was a slow speed pursuit, but it sure did ramp up at the end with these very tense moments.
It was fun.
He is a suspected serial rapist. We don't have too much information, but authorities did believe he was armed. It's unclear why he seems to be so physically challenged and unable. He had such a hard time.
Look at him.
So there's so much more information we just don't have about this. But again, we can all breathe a sigh of relief that no one on the road was hurt, no innocent.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Warlord.
Yeah. I mean, what we do know is that he's.
I looked up Dalton Mayer. I didn't see any news stories.
And these charges that he's facing that he was initially kind of pulled over for, now he can face justice for that. I mean, I don't know if the assumption is
it
that
absolutely was nonsense
of the country to try to avoid whatever charges were following him, but officers now have him in custody, which is the beginning of some type of justice.
He's still having trouble standing.
Rape victims of his, serial rapist. Those are serious charges certainly, and robbery. Also out of Boston, based off what we know.
Did they use multiple sets of handcuffs on him?
Certainly, without a doubt, was evading police, fleeing the patrol officers that were tailing him because he saw those spike strips and he was avoiding them. He knew that they were after him. So there's more information about this.
He couldn't be too drunk. He drove.
We'll be able to get.
Yeah, if you've done some of those things
very well,
you see. Flashing lights behind you for anything, running a stop sign or anything, you're certainly going to have, I would assume, your heart drop because you know that you have some other
things, Flash
that you're responsible for that you don't want to have to speak with authorities about.
Well, there is a thing called state-dependent learning.
Maybe that's
if you drive a lot while you're drunk.
Pulled over for this. Or attempted to be pulled over.
Oh, I thought you were talking about something in the UK.
No one hurt on the campus of UCLA and anywhere else.
Okay, all right.
We can move on.
We've covered this story several times.
Here at 5, following the devastation.
Sage, good evening.
That rolled through eastern Riverside County this past weekend, officials find a house filled with dogs and other exotic animals.
We've done that story, Warlord. We I am totally not on her side. She seems like she is corrupt. I was at first, one, because she's cute. I kind of took her side, but she really has been fucking over the people of Dalton. That's not what people come for, Warlord. You're off tonight. We're doing the news. Find out what that news be doing. And this is the story you asked for last night. Russia says that the Ukraine, not the Ukraine, You're welcome, mitochondria. I'm glad I could make you smile. I'm sorry you've had a bad day. Hey, Ukraine. Moscow says a Ukraine is invading Russia.
Russia is retaliating against the reported push by Ukraine into Russian territory. Russia's military put out this video claiming to show an attack.
My, how the tables have
Russia's
turned.
Kursk region, which is now the scene of fierce fighting. CBS News foreign correspondent Ian Lee has more on this.
Ukraine is taking the fight into Russia. This video posted on social media allegedly shows its forces pouring over the border, while another on a pro-Ukrainian account appears to show Russian soldiers surrendering in large numbers. Moscow is scrambling to block the advance with artillery and airstrikes. Russia's top general tries to project an image of control, telling President Vladimir Putin the offensive of 1,000 Ukrainian troops has been halted. On the ground, a stunned Russian man tells the camera the fighting has damaged everything in his village. The White House says it wants to know Kyiv's endgame.
We are going to continue to stay focused on making sure they have what they need to defend themselves against Russia's aggression.
Ukraine is targeting Russia's Kursk region, far away from the main front lines in the east and south. The 2-year-old war has ground to a stalemate. Moscow throws wave after wave at Ukrainian defenses, making small but costly gains. Meanwhile, Russian missiles continue to rain down on Ukrainian cities. On Tuesday, one damaged a clinic in Kharkiv. Ukraine hopes the recently delivered F-16 fighter jets can protect its skies and help turn the tide of the war. We've reached out to Ukrainian officials. So far, they are not commenting on the advance into Russia. Lilia?
And so one of the things, that one has to keep in mind, Ian, is Ukraine has a far smaller army than Russia. So
yes,
could this attack leave some of its territory potentially exposed?
Yeah, Ukraine and Russia share a long border, and large parts of it are quiet. Over the past 2 years, Ukraine has fortified defenses along it in case Russia opens up another front. Now, Russia, it seems like, hasn't done the same. So by launching an assault into Russia, Moscow will have to divert critical resources and manpower away from the other fronts, which could ease the pressure on Ukrainian troops defending. The incursion is also embarrassing for Russian President Vladimir Putin. Moscow will likely have to move resources permanently to shore up those defenses to make sure something like this doesn't happen again. The big question now is, will Ukraine keep pushing into Russia, or will it withdraw its forces?
Well, Ian, I'd love for you to shift gears because you are in London. What can you tell us about these anti-immigrant riots around the country for the last several days since that deadly stabbing attack in July, and about the counter-protests, the anti-racist counter-protests that have emerged as well?
Yeah, last night, thousands of police officers deployed across the country. Authorities anticipated as many as 100 protest sites and braced for a night of violence. It never happened. We were at one immigration center, and instead of far-right protesters, we saw counter-demonstrators dominating the street. Politicians have promised swift justice against any unrest, and judges have already handed down some pretty heavy sentences. But it isn't over. There are calls for further protests this weekend, and cracking down on them may bring some temporary calm. Also, you're seeing these thousands of people going out in the streets against these far-right protesters, calling for unity, saying migrants are welcome. But many people here see a national crisis unfolding. They say that uncontrolled migration is a problem in the UK, and they want to see them solve that. Previous governments in the UK have tried to stem migration. So it is an issue that politicians are going to be dealing with, and it likely will see more protests in the future. Lilia?
Thank you so much, Ian Lee at our London Bureau.
There you have it. Let's stick with the international affairs, shall we? We have new information in what I am calling the God damn it! The Taylor Swift terror plot. I know that makes it sound like Taylor Swift was the one doing the plotting, but is actually plotting against Taylor Swift concerts in Europe.
Taylor Swift's Eras tour has been called off in Austria after officials arrested 2 teenagers accused of plotting a terrorist attack. The concert promoter, Barracuda Music, said that, quote, "We have no choice but to cancel the 3 scheduled shows for everyone's safety." Roughly 200,000 people were scheduled to attend the sold-out Vienna concerts. For a closer look at this, I'm joined by Juliet Kayyem. She's professor at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government and former assistant secretary at the Department of Homeland Security. Juliet, thanks for joining us. The fact that these organizers had to cancel the shows, what does that say to you about how serious, how imminent these threats were?
It says 2 things. First, that not only was it serious, but that this was disrupted likely hours before there could have been extreme violence. And I think they canceled for 2 reasons. One is there was an insider threat. One of the 2 teenagers had some affiliation with probably one of the sub vendors, may have had credentials that would have allowed him to go in and out. Once you have an insider threat, you close the thing down because you have no idea who else could be in the room. The second is that the threat appears to have been in the soft outside perimeter rather than inside the concert hall. Anyone who's seen these pictures of the Eras tour knows that there's lots of people with tickets. There's lots of people without tickets who want the experience, want to hear her, want to be part of the Taylor Swift movement. Those parts are not protected. And so I think it was right and correct, given the threat that we know right now, both insider threat capacity and targeting the soft areas of the concert security, that you would want to shut it down until you understood what the threat was.
So as we mentioned, 2 people have been arrested. Bomb-making materials were reportedly found in their homes. One suspect, as you mentioned, even had that job inside concert operations. What do we know from what authorities have shared so far and what's been reported about what they were trying to do exactly? What was the threat?
So I'm going to put this in terms of the global threat right now. So ever since
like he was a volunteer inside the venue or some shit, like
the global
did concessions or something like that.
Increased. That part of that is just in response to the war itself. Part of it is just a sort of the radicalization movement gets inspired by what is going on in Gaza and Israel. So we knew that already existed. So almost every area is in elevated threat environment. If you sort of move over to France, the Paris Olympics understood this. They are at a higher threat level. Then you have the recruitment efforts by an organization like ISIS trying to prove its relevancy, trying to get a high profile event, but very difficult to get people to move. Say like 15 or 20 years ago, or 15 years ago, ISIS's tactic was they wanted people to come fight in a war. There's no more war like that anymore. So what they're trying to do is to recruit young men, isolated, maybe affiliated, getting radicalized online, and they radicalize in a very short period. That's the amazing thing. And tell them, do something catastrophic in your own country. You don't need to move across borders and risk getting caught. So that's what we know right now, and will continue for the foreseeable future, targeting these high-profile events to make a statement and to show
torture a bunch of racist Nazis
in an environment that has changed over the last couple of years for them.
And so, Juliet, when you say they were inspired by or they were radicalized, what do we know about links between a group like ISIS or a group like Al-Qaeda, I know was also mentioned as an inspiration for them, and these 2 teenagers? What were they directly actually directed to do something, or was it more vague than that?
Now, what we understand now, and this could change, is one of the teenagers was known to law enforcement at the time. So something had gone on.
Second generation
immigrant, known to intelligence agents.
Son of an immigrant or something.
There's also some reporting
born in the UK.
Regarding the United States coming to understand that there might have been a threat against the concert specifically. So there was something public, or at least part of the surveillance network, that was captured. The specific individual who was arrested with the the explosives was unknown to law enforcement there, is radicalized from what we understand from family members in a relatively short period of time, and is probably just going down the rabbit hole of radicalization. They find you, they bring you into back channels, into websites or the dark web that you and I don't even follow, and basically launch what could have been a terrible incident, not just for Europeans or others. I mean, we know how international concerts are, but Taylor Swift is an American icon. This was a focus on an image of and a reflection of America's openness, America's talent, youth, gender, everything that she represents. And we're pretty lucky that it was stopped.
Julia Kayyem, national security analyst. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
I hate it for all the Swifties in Austria, though, that were excited to go see the Eras tour. Goddamn. Newly released body cam video shows the moment an officer discovered the Trump would-be assassin.
With dramatic new body cam video showing the exact moment a police officer climbed onto the roof where a would-be assassin was getting ready to open fire on former President Trump. Want to show it to you here. This is the video I'm talking about, showing a Butler Township, Pennsylvania police officer climbing up on the roof before immediately dropping back down. Potentially because there was concern that the shooter could turn his rifle on the officer. There's no audio from that moment, but some video later captures the officer's immediate reaction to what he saw. Listen to this.
Door's closed, bro. Dude, he turned around on me. Seriously, he was right where you picked me up, bro. He was on that left side.
Well, you shoot him.
The suspect, the shooter, was able to get several shots off in the moments after that officer climbed the roof, hurting the former president and killing a bystander before he then was killed by a Secret Service sniper. NBC's Tom Winners all over these late-breaking developments for us. Okay, let's talk us through what we're seeing and hearing, because there's some new insights we're getting based on the conversations between these officers and what this video shows.
Hallie, some of the most important evidence to law enforcement officials when they investigate a crime are the things that people immediately say after something has happened, because it's at that moment that their memory is most clear, that they
they usually open fire on anything they perceive to be a danger.
Just saw the video that you played for us, and the video that we're looking at now captures a moment. We don't see it because, remember, the body-worn camera is worn at approximately the chest level, so we don't see it as he tries to get up on the roof and immediately drops back down, because according to the Secret Service testimony and the timeline of events, it's 30 seconds after he gets up on that roof where he sees Thomas Matthew Crooks turn to him with his rifle and point at him that he jumps down, radios, and 30 seconds later there are shots fired at the former president. But of course, a lot of this over the past several weeks has been, how could that have even happened? And we heard today from a Butler Township Police Department member in what he says happened in the back and forth with the Secret Service leading up to this event. Let's take a listen, Howie.
I told them they need to post the guys over here. I told them that the Secret Service. I told them that Tuesday. I told them to post guys over here.
Hallie, in addition to that, he later says on the tape that he had a discussion with the Secret Service on Tuesday. So remember, the shooting was on a Saturday. Tuesday, several days beforehand, he's talking to the Secret Service where he says that they should have been posted back there. That back there on the video is behind the building or buildings where eventually Crooks was able
just all cops are incompetent.
Fire shots at former President Trump, 8 rounds in total. So that's the reaction that we're getting from police officers in the seconds after this happened. And clearly they were upset that they were even responding to this at all based on what they say. They told the Secret Service. We're still waiting on a response from the Secret Service, but of course we've reached out to them.
Okay, that was a question there, too, because of the criticism now, and we've seen this wedge, essentially, between the locals, the state, and the federal officials who are on this. Tom, given your expertise on this story, and as you say, potentially the most important evidence that we have seen since that assassination attempt happened into the investigation.
Light one up, tip one back.
Failures occurred. Does this raise other new questions? In other words, bring us inside your reporter's notebook. What else now? Like, what other paths does this open up here?
It is critical that we start to get some answers from the Secret Service in this investigation as to who was told what and when. And very clearly there was a walkthrough. This happens all the time. They get everybody involved. If this was in New York City, they'd bring in the NYPD and they'd say, hey, what do you all see as a potential threat or a problem with this building or this street or this avenue? And they go through it and they sit around a table and everybody thinks about what are all the things that somebody could do. Okay, how are we going to cover that? That appears to have taken place here, if we're to believe the officer, in what is clearly an immediate reaction after this event. And so who was he talking to? What was said? And the critical question that I continue to have, actually two questions. One, did anybody go back to that building and check, do we have officers where we need them to?
No.
Is the Secret Service where we need them to?
I can answer that.
Top of that roof. Who was responsible for checking the math? And then the second question is, it's very clear from the first video, this video that we're looking at right now, that the officer did alert that this person was on the roof, and the fact that there were two separate command posts and that information couldn't be relayed real time, I think is going to be a big, big component of this investigation going forward.
Tom Winter, important reporting. Thank you very much. Lots to follow on that.
Thanks. Shut up, Lester.
Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. Just as soon as she started saying thank you, I was ready for it. I mentioned this earlier when we were doing the Trump campaign press conference earlier today. If you guys did not join us for that, a Trump aide had tweeted out that his press conference was because he was upset and that he feels that his campaign is failing him and that only he can go out and set the ship right. Or right the ship? Is that right the ship? There we go. That's the phrase.
Donald Trump held a shotgun press conference today as he reportedly grows increasingly frustrated at Kamala Harris's surging campaign. Harris and her running mate, Tim Walz, have been drawing huge, enthusiastic crowds at rallies across the Midwest. Last night's Detroit rally was
they had to move it.
Trump rally. Harris and Walz pulled right up to an aircraft.
They didn't even mention it. They had to move it to a airplane hangar. It was supposed to be in a little convention center. It held like 5,000 people, and 20,000 people RSVP'd. So they moved it to a airplane hangar.
Harris and Walz pulled right up to an aircraft hangar in Air Force 2, just like Trump has done multiple times. Trump's allies are taking note. Listen to what Megyn Kelly just said about Tim Walz.
I'm going to be honest with you in the audience. I watched him last night, and I thought he was amazing. He is a spectacular speaker.
We're leading, so I'm not complaining.
Today, Trump took reporters' questions for more than an hour, scoffing at Harris's crowd size.
Oh, give me a break. Listen, I had 107,000 people in New Jersey. You didn't report it. I'm so glad you asked. What did she have yesterday, 2,000 people?
It was actually 15,000 people.
That is a frustrated, and believe it or not, that is a frightened Donald Trump. He's looking at the poll numbers, and it was a big tell when he does
big tuna
and tells you how great
you trolling
polls. That's a big tell for him. He's not doing well in the polls. He knows that, and so that's another big lie.
Hey, Justin, are you trolling?
If you're inspired by Trump, you're a dumbass. During the press conference he held earlier today, he laid out a slate of debates, one on ABC, one on NBC, one on Fox, and then the CBS debate for the vice presidential debate. That sounds reasonable. Here is Harris's response.
President Trump had a press conference today. He talked about a lot of things. Wonder if you have a reaction to what he talked about.
Well, I'm glad that he's finally agreed to a debate on September 10th. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope he shows up.
Are you open to more debates?
I am happy to have that conversation about an additional debate for after September 10th, for sure.
He's supposed to more debates.
Like I said, happy to have that conversation.
Why do you think he pulled out of the debate? Why do you think
beyond trying to speculate about how he thinks. What else?
Can you comment on some of his other criticisms? He made a whole litany of them today. Some of them are about your...
I was too busy talking to voters. I didn't hear him.
Some of the criticism has been about your vice presidential pick and his leading the National Guard at 24 years. Vance said that he deserted his own troops for his own colleagues. What's your take on that?
Listen, I praise anyone who has presented themselves to serve our country. And I think that we all should.
Madam Vice President, there's been a lot of questions about when you're going to sit down for your first interview since being the nominee. Do you have any update on that?
I've talked to my team. I want us to get an interview scheduled before the end of the month. Thank you.
I'm sorry to jump scare you with Gutfeld, and he does. He looks extra creepy right there as well. No. Misogynist assholes like you won't vote for a woman. You dumb fucking idiot. The people that won't vote for a woman are already Trump supporters, so that don't fucking matter. Man who served with the vice presidential candidate Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, is speaking up on behalf of his military record.
Kamala Harris is on a multi-state battleground swing. In just a few hours, Donald Trump says he will be holding a press conference.
Quesadilla, good evening.
We haven't seen much of the former president this week, and he has one rally on his schedule. That is tomorrow in Montana. But his running mate has been out and about, and he's sharpening attacks on Vice President Harris and her new running mate, Tim Walz, especially over his 24-year career in the Army National Guard.
When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him. He said we shouldn't allow weapons that I used in war to be on America's streets. Well, I wonder, Tim Walz, when were you ever in war? What was this weapon that you carried into war, given that you abandoned your unit right before they went to Iraq, and he has not spent a day?
Big Tuna. No. I believe there's a very small population out there that won't vote for a woman. And it's your kind, and you're the one who's in a bubble, and that's why I called you a dumbass. I do get out, you don't. Right-wingers are morons.
In a combat zone.
Now, Vance is a Marine veteran who served as a combat correspondent in Iraq. His accusation that Walz is not telling the truth is based in part on this clip posted by the Harris campaign of Walz advocating for gun control.
We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
So, weapons of war that I carried in war. How close was he to war? A National Guard spokesman says Walz deployed to Italy in 2003, where he was part of a security mission in support of the Afghanistan war, but he never served in Afghanistan. In a statement, the campaign said, quote, in his 24 years of service, the governor carried, fired, and trained others to use weapons of war innumerable times. Governor Walz would never insult or undermine any American's service to this country. In fact, he thanks Senator Vance for putting his
wow
for our country.
How gracious.
The American way. Now, we also heard Vance accuse Walz of ducking service to Iraq when he left the National Guard in 2005 to run for Congress. Here's what we know about that. Now, Walz was already running for Congress when his unit received notice they could deploy to Iraq within 2 years. He actually retired 2 months before his unit received official alert orders for deployment. However, it is not clear when Walz actually filed his retirement paperwork, which often happens months ahead of the actual date.
Big Tuna. There were no peace deals. What you're calling a peace deal was a fucking arms deal. It was a normalization of relations to sell arms. You're a dumbass. Why? Why are right-wingers so fucking stupid?
He said in 2009 he left the Guard to focus on his run for Congress. And so far, no answer from the campaign on that particular issue. CNN's Brianna Keeler is now with us at the table. Bree, you have some new reporting about this.
Yeah, I spoke with Joe Eustace, who served for over 10 years with Governor Walz in the Minnesota Army National Guard. And he's a really interesting person to talk to about this because he does not see eye to eye with Walz on politics at all. In fact, I want to read something from him. He said, "From what I know of the situation, they're lying," he says, speaking of those who have come out against Walz from their former battalion. He says, Walz, was a good soldier, as good of a soldier as you'll find. I'm not trying to defend him. I hope people don't think that. What I'm trying to do is defend someone who served his country. I'm not voting for him. I'll campaign against him, but I don't think it's...
The Abraham Accords were an arms deal, you dipshit.
Specifically, it's that point that is being made where he says...
You're calling it a peace deal. Like, up is down, black is white. You're all fucking stupid.
Words there. He says, in fact, that Walz was thinking about retiring long before that because he was thinking about running for office. And he says that in a conversation, Joe Eustace says he pointed out to Walz, well, other people have been in Congress or been in office and they've been in the National Guard, but he said that Walz said something to the effect of,
why would I give a shit if Israelis are permitted to enter the UAE? Why is that huge? It was a normalization of relations with Jordan and the UAE to sell them arms.
Eustace says, Walz should answer.
You are a dumb fuck.
Why he said that.
Because he wasn't in an actual combat zone.
Exactly right.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Now, Jeff Zeleny, we have seen the military record of a candidate.
An arms deal is not a peace deal. You are a stupid fucking piece of shit.
It be used successfully. Obviously, we're thinking about 2004. John Kerry, who was in Vietnam, and he served his country in Vietnam, and he was famously or infamously swift-boated.
Swift-boated, yes. It became a verb because his military service was essentially used against him by Chris LaCivita, was the head of the swift-boat veterans for a truth at the time. And now he, of course, is running the Trump campaign. So, look, there are some parallels to this, but I think some of the differences are, and I was talking to a top Republican this morning who is in no way supportive of the Harris campaign. They're wondering why so much attention on Tim Walz right now. Perhaps it's just the first week. But the John Kerry thing, the swift boat thing, as it happened, it caught Democrats off guard. There's no doubt about it. And it became a weeks-long campaign. If this becomes a weeks-long campaign, many Republicans think that should be against Vice President Harris on things like immigration and inflation. So is this kind of a deflection? So we will see. But this is not one issue. Even though Senator Vance injected this into the bloodstream in one press conference in Michigan, as Brianna pointed out. These are two very different things about when he decided to retire and if he used weapons of war. So we will see if they respond to that and if he answers questions about that, if he ever takes questions.
And I want to move on more broadly to their other...
Yeah, and that's the thing. They're not even, like, he didn't even say he was deployed. He just said that he used weapons. The weapons that he used during war or something like that was like the phrase. It's insane. And I had a friend that was in the military explain it. The whole thing about his rank was that when people were missing from the barracks, he served as this rank, and that still made him that rank even though he didn't retire as that rank. He was still the highest serving or the highest ranking member of the military that served in Congress. Because, he didn't have some sort of test credentials or whatever it was in order to obtain that rank, but he had served in that capacity at different points in time, which is apparently a thing that the military does. So that rank was indeed bestowed on him. So the whole thing is nonsense.
Sort of attacks on this new ticket, but Bree, because we have the benefit of having you here, what else should we be thinking about with regard to this story?
One of the things I think is, at what point did military service become a liability? That's one of the things that's sort of on my mind as I look at this. I also think that J.D. Vance, as a messenger on this, may be an imperfect messenger, because we have, as you introduced him, as a combat correspondent, which was what his title was. But when you dig a little deeper into that, he was a public affairs specialist, someone who did not see combat, which certainly the title combat correspondent kind of gives you a different impression. So he may be the imperfect messenger on that. But at the same time, then you have this argument going on where it seems to be...
And Walz served 3 times as long as J.D. Vance. So how can Vance call Walz a coward? It's just insane. We live in an upside-down world with these people.
Did you really serve your country unless you were shot at a lot? And I just think that's a very kind of gross place to be, because there is so much service and sacrifice that goes on in the military. Anyone in the military or who values the military will tell you that there's a lot more to it than just being in danger. And here you have them bickering over something which should be assets that they're both bringing to their candidacy.
J.D. Vance served America in the United States military. Tim Walz served America in the United States military, and that is more than a lot of Americans can say, and I think that's a really important point. Let's move on to talk more broadly about some of the other issues that the Trump campaign that they're using. One of the big ones is Governor Walz, who is the governor of Minnesota, how he handled the riots after George Floyd in Minneapolis, attacking him for...
How are you going to attack him on that?
And not really reining it in for several days. So now we have a phone call that Donald Trump made.
Yeah, I was about to say.
He was part of with Governor Walz. It was in 2020. It was on June 1st, 2020, after most...
This is exactly what I was getting ready to play, Dana. Thank you for setting it up for me. How you going to tag him on how he handled the riots in Minneapolis?
Walz was on the phone, and we spoke, and I fully agree with the way he handled it the last couple of days. I asked him to do that, and the whole world was laughing. 2 days, 3 days later, I spoke to the governor. The governor's, I think, on the call, and he's an excellent guy. You've got a big National Guard out there that's ready to come in and fight like hell. I tell you, the best, what they did in Minneapolis was incredible. They went in and dominated, and it happened immediately. Tim is on the phone now. Tim Walz. Again, I was very happy with the last couple of days, Tim. You called up big numbers, and the big numbers knocked them out so fast it was like bowling pins.
Our grieving and in pain. And I would just say, as far as the potential, the peaceful protesters who are expressing an outrage that is real. They witnessed 8 minutes of a man dying in front of them. Well, at that point in time, I did something unprecedented. I mobilized the entire Minnesota National Guard, and that's what the president was alluding to with the size of the force was capable. But I think, again, Mr. President, you asked on explaining this, I would just say, it's going to be very difficult. There are bad actors in this, but there is such a legitimate anger. Our real dilemma here is the transition back is to the catalyst that sparked this across the country, and that was what happened with the Minneapolis Police Department. So what we did is a lot of this, what you saw yesterday, was engaging civic leaders and the peaceful protests. And I would just close with, I think the guidance is you got to get a handle on it with that force. That is absolutely correct. And then the transition in the next phase is...
Big Tuna, how can you tell me that if I knew exactly what it was when you alluded to it in chat, wouldn't that indicate to you that I do know? If I sit here and do a news show and have for years, wouldn't that allude to you that I have educated myself, that I know exactly what I'm talking about? I'm sorry. I hate it. I hate that I get derailed by the trolls in chat, but I love it. I love it. I'm sorry.
Trying to get those spaces for the peaceful protest. And I'm happy to do things that we have to look at of how do we get reforms.
But, Tim, it showed the incredible difference between your great state yesterday and the day before compared to the first few days, which was just...
Absolutely.
Never seen it.
Absolutely.
A police force and take it over. And I don't blame you.
I agree, Mox. Hopefully once I get, big enough, if I ever get big enough, we can do like a take calls portion. But then, you know, it's like the Majority Report. Most people call in and they're like, I love listening to you. It's not a lot of people wanting to argue, unfortunately. Is this me? Those rare libertarian callers, they are amazing. If you're watching on Twitch right now, I'm going to go ahead and hit you with the commercial break. Get the 3 minutes out of the way, and when we come back, we got Hunter Biden is apparently some sort of foreign agent. I'm going to tell you about the outcome of the chase that we watched earlier. It is the 20-year anniversary of Dave Matthews taking a shit on the city of Chicago. Steve Martin has turned down the opportunity to appear on SNL as Tim Walz. And apparently Taylor Swift is demonic and into witchcraft. All that and a lot freaking more here on the other side of the break on the Troll Patrol Live. I don't know who they should get. Apparently Maya Rudolph has agreed to come back and play Harris at least through the election. I would assume if Harris wins, they'll get like an up-and-comer to play her. Going forward, Maya Rudolph will go back to, you know, I think she's got a show on Hulu or something. I don't really know. I know she's always in different things. She's always popping up on different things. They're calling him Tampon Tim, which is just absurd. He allowed students to have access to free menstruation products in both the boys and girls restrooms because it's such a big deal. Well, I hadn't seen him attack him over the social studies class. I knew he was a social studies teacher. Apparently, he went to a Bush rally, and it was like a civics thing for like the kids. Like he would have gone to a rally no matter who the candidate had been, right? It was just a chance to go to a political rally, and one of the kids had a carry sticker on their stuff, and they kicked the group out. And that was the thing that spurred him on into going into politics. What an origin story. And like he had a really high rating from the NRA when he was in Congress. Hayes, good evening. I want to say it was an A, but I don't know if it was that high. But how wild is that? Veteran. High rating from NRA. Social studies teacher. Owns no stock. Owns no stock. And was very, very enthusiastic about trying to ban Congress from being able to own stock. So, definitely a lot to like about Tim Walz. Okay, fair enough, but you can't count a pension. And hey, here's the cool, like, tampons in the boys' restroom, totally cool. Maybe the kids want to do some boofing. So that's one way you can get drunk is by soaking a tampon in alcohol and sticking it up your ass. So maybe the kids wanted to do that in school. There's another reason to put the tampons in the boys' restroom. Encourage. I would assume it would burn. No, apparently kids do it. That's a thing. That's how they get away with getting drunk at school. Because then they don't have it on their breath and shit. It's smart. Just move some coke first. I don't know what high schoolers are going to school and doing coke. I mean, my ex-girlfriend did. That was the wild thing. Is that, like, I never did any coke when I was in high school. That's when I found pot, and I remember a girl doing a pill in a textbook one time. But I don't remember any coke being in the high school. However, my girlfriend, so I'm like, I just graduated. So I was 19, she was 16. And then when I was 20, she would have been 17, and that would have been her junior year prom. And that year that we went to her prom, like, we did all kinds of drugs, and I think she's the one that got the coke. And I think she was doing coke with some of her friends before she was going into school. She ended up going to rehab for a drug problem I didn't even know she had. Goes to rehab at like 17. I kind of feel like I'm probably a bad influence, or if at least not a bad influence, an enabler. I'm a really bad enabler. And you know who else has probably had a lot of enablers in their life? Hunter Biden and his gigantic schlong has probably had all kinds of enablers around him.
Allegations against Hunter Biden. The special counsel in a tax case against the president's son is now accusing him of taking money from a foreign businessman to influence U.S. policy while his father was vice president. Our senior investigative correspondent, Aaron Katursky, is here with the details on that. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning to you, Lindsay. There are no new charges.
Hell yeah, Prometheus.
Closest the special counsel has come to tying President Biden to his son's foreign business affairs. Special counsel David Weiss accused Hunter Biden of accepting $1 million from a Romanian businessman who was attempting to influence U.S. policy and public opinion while Joe Biden was vice president. In a new court filing, the special counsel said Hunter Biden and two associates were hired in 2015 by Gabriel Papaviciu, a Romanian real estate tycoon who was facing corruption.
Society of Our Lady of the Most Holy Trinity?
Intervene. The filing said Hunter Biden was concerned lobbying work might cause political ramifications for his father, so the payment was structured in a way that concealed the true nature of the work he was
performing. Bath salts.
This is all part of a tax case scheduled to go to trial in California next month. Hunter Biden has pleaded not guilty to charges stemming from $1.4 million in taxes that went unpaid while he was struggling with addiction. He faces no charges of improper foreign lobbying, but what prosecutors said this evidence shows Biden's mind was clear when he skirted the IRS.
All right, Aaron here, thanks to you.
Do we still give a shit about Hunter Biden? Is that even going to be a thing anymore? Earlier today, we covered the Trump press conference. And as a treat afterwards, I showed you a chase. Here's the result of that chase, because unfortunately, the stream ended abruptly before we could find out.
Want to get back to our breaking news in Sylmar at the conclusion of a pursuit. 2 of 3 suspects arrested who jumped out of a car that police were pursuing. Rich Prickett, you're over the scene. Is a third person about to be taken into custody?
We believe so the neighbor here is trying to point the CHP and the LAPD in the direction of where they last saw.
This is the one that was hiding in the playhouse?
This is about a block away from where they took the other 2 suspects into custody. We'll open up here and show you the area. You can see how they were just kind of hopscotching through the neighborhood here, going from yard to yard. And this was the last location that the third suspect was seen. It looked like they officers had gone into the back.
This is a riot shield, I do believe.
And they were looking through the bushes along the fence line. From their posture, I don't believe they saw a suspect, so now they're moving towards the front of the home. But again, one suspect still on the loose here in the Sylmar neighborhood off of El Cajon and El Dorado. For folks in the area, try and keep your doors and windows locked. And if you see anything on your property that looks suspicious, make sure to let the officers know. Frank, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Rich, we appreciate it and ask you to stay over the scene and bring us any updates as you get them.
So, 2 of the 3.
On an accident that's left a La Habra police officer in critical condition. You're watching Eyewitness News at 11:30. We're live on ABC 7, Hulu, and wherever you stream. I'm Philip Palmer.
And I'm Giovanna Lotta.
The accident happened around 10 this morning, and that officer was rushed to the hospital.
Eyewitness News reporter David Gonzalez is live on the scene in La Habra with the latest this morning. David.
La Habra.
Giovanna and Philip, yeah, when you see the damage left to this motorcycle, you can just see how scary.
Not yet a good cop.
Check this out. This is a scene here at Walnut Street and Lambert Road in the city of La Habra.
Baby.
And you just have this motorcycle that belonged to a La Habra police officer just mangled in the middle of the road. Right now, we're still trying to determine exactly what led to this crash. But I can tell you just from where we're standing and witnessing, that front wheel of that motorcycle appears to be ripped off, as well as the shield. There is also another car here with also visible damage to it. I want you guys to take a look at this video from earlier this morning. I can tell you that the crash happened around 9:15 this morning, where it is
mangled.
La Habra motorcycle officer was involved in this crash on the corner of Walnut Street and Lambert Road. Right now, it is unknown what led to this crash, but I can tell you just from standing here, that car does have damage to the right hand side of the vehicle. It may appear that this motorcycle ran into the car, but of course we're trying to get that information from investigators here on the scene. The investigation is being handled by California Highway Patrol. I can tell you that that officer was immediately transported to UCI from this location, and right now that officer's condition is unknown at this time. But back out here live, this area is going to be blocked off for a while as CHP investigates what led to this crash. But as you can see just from where we're standing, that motorcycle is mangled with a lot of damage, that front wheel ripped off. So of course we'll be following this information. La Habra Police and CHP are asking anyone who may have witnessed this collision to call them immediately with any information. Reporting live, David Gonzalez, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Let's do this. Let's go to Florida woman. Apparently ambushed the cops.
I am finding probable cause on all counts.
Meaning the case against 48-year-old Julie Sulpizio in its very early stages can move forward.
Is you're here on a Lake County warrant for 1 count murder of a law enforcement officer as a principal, 7 counts of attempted murder, 1 count battery by strangulation, 2 counts battery, touch, or strike, and 1 count battery on a law enforcement officer.
Lake County deputies were called to Brookside Drive in rural Lake County Friday night when a man called 911 to say Sulpizio was getting aggressive with his dogs and was punching people trying to help him. Deputies arrived, restrained her, and were told she directed them to check on her family next door.
As Master Deputy Link crossed the threshold into the hallway, his body-worn camera captures several frames of what appears to be a male in black sleeve shirt or body armor, positioned with a rifle on the arm of a couch, waiting to ambush deputies.
Master Deputy Bradley Link was shot and killed. Deputy Harold Howell was shot, as was Deputy Stefano Gargano, who went in later. We just now learned
they're actually doing very well. We keep getting good reports each day.
Deputy Gargano was scheduled for a 4th surgery, but all signs are positive.
Deputy Gargano was actually sitting up today, and I think he's gotten into some comfortable clothes, so he's moving around a little bit.
At first, Sulpizio was taken to the hospital for a mental health evaluation, then transferred to jail to face criminal charges. The state asked the judge to keep Sulpizio.
Go ahead, light one up, tip one back.
The court can
It's all right to have fun before you hit the sack, Prometheus.
secure the safety of the public.
Have a good night.
As to counts 1 through 8, that is the 1 count murder and the 7 counts attempted murder. So I will hold your on no bond.
In Lake County, Dave McDaniel.
Why is she naked?
Thanks for watching.
Shut up, Lester.
Breaking news and top.
I wasn't expecting it that time. I didn't know this was NBC National. Oh, it is NBC National. Should have been expecting it. That was my fault. This 1977 cold case has been closed thanks to DNA evidence.
A serial killer is arrested, suspected of several murders in Ventura County back in 1977. 73-year-old Warren Luther Alexander is charged with 3 counts of murder in a cold case involving 3 women who were strangled to death in Oxnard and unincorporated.
Purgatoris, good evening.
Alexander was in custody in North Carolina facing a separate murder charge and was extradited to Ventura. The Ventura District Attorney's Office says it was a joint law enforcement effort that made it possible to find justice in this case.
They never gave up seeking justice for these 3 victims, their loved ones.
I hate this dude. I don't know what it is about him, like his face. Well, it's probably the fact that he's a cop. But like, look at that face. Like, I want to punch him. Like, I'm disgusted by this dude. What is wrong with him? It's cop face. That's what's wrong with him.
Just because a case
all of them
on cold does not mean it should ever be forgotten.
Look at all these fucks.
Due to advancements in technology, Alexander was linked to the murders through DNA. Alexander is being held in Ventura County Jail without bail.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown.
Hey, Mark.
More great ABC7 content by clicking the subscribe button for our YouTube channel and download.
I appreciate you, Mark. I absolutely will. Thank you. I'll give it a thumbs up. You're awesome, Mark. Thank you for your hard work. Something happened 20 years ago today. Do you guys know what it is? Anybody got any guesses? It was a monumental story. Hiroshima! Lester called says, fuck you. What? That was Mark Brown. I was nice to Mark Brown. The Dave Matthews Band has been shitting all over fans all over the country for like 30 years now. But 20 years ago today, they shit all over Chicago.
20 years ago today, or actually tomorrow in this case. Do you know what happened?
It's today, Thursday.
No, it's not the Beatles, but Dave Matthews Band that created a foul footnote in Chicago music history.
Dane has fond memories, and he's looking back at something many people would like to forget.
It was a warm and sunny August day, much like this one, when Chicago's Little Lady on an architectural tour passed underneath the Kinsey Street Bridge. What happened next? Here's my report from 20 years ago.
We have talked to the bus driver.
Chicago police today showed a surveillance photo of a bus carrying members of the Dave Matthews entourage to a concert in Wisconsin earlier this month as it crossed the Kinsey Street Bridge and allegedly dumped its septic tank on more than 100 passengers aboard the Chicago's Little Lady tour boat passing underneath.
It was pretty disgusting. I don't know if I could even describe to you how disgusting it was.
20 years later, the Dave Matthews bus dump has become an execrable excerpt in a city full of history. Today, the exact spot of the slurry slam is marked by a sticker on the bridge, and for a time, an actual
slurry slam
riot fest.
Well, of course, our initial reaction was shock and horror for the people that were on the boat and how terrible that was.
Margaret Frisbee runs Friends of the Chicago River, which received a $50,000 donation from the Dave Matthews Band after the sickening soaking, part of a $200,000.
The sickening soaking!
settlement. But more important, Frisbee says, is that it brought new attention to the goal of restoring the river.
Like a shot in the arm to wake people up that you cannot treat our natural resources this way, and that in this unfortunate incident, people were hit. But what it tells you, if one bus driver was pulling a lever like that, other people were doing it too.
That driver pleaded guilty to reckless conduct and was sentenced to community service and a fine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's illegal.
Sordid story will be celebrated with a dance party at the Hideout. They're calling it Don't Drink the Water. And don't bother trying to get tickets. It's already sold out. Kinsey Street Bridge, Dane Placco, Fox 32 Chicago.
Don't Drink the Water being a Dave Matthews Band song. Musician Steve Martin. Famed musician Steve Martin, who is also an actor, turned down playing Tim Walz on Saturday Night Live. This is the 50th anniversary, by the way, so it is going to be a star-studded affair. SNL needs someone who can emulate the suburban, everyday energy of Kamala Harris's VP pick. Here's who we think could fit, according to The Guardian. On Thursday, comedian Steve Martin announced that he wouldn't be playing the Minnesota governor turned Democrat VP pick Tim Walz on Saturday Night Live, even after SNL Big Cheese Lorne Michaels offered him the job. I wanted to say no, and by the way, he wanted me to say no, Martin told the Los Angeles Times. I said, Lauren, I'm not an impressionist. You need someone who can really nail the guy. I was picked because I have gray hair and glasses. They're going to find somebody really, really good. I'd be struggling. And Steve makes an excellent point there. Another reason he refused is that playing politicians is never a one-time gig. Maya Rudolph has been playing Kamala Harris since 2019. It is a shame because Martin has an affable suburban energy to match Walz, who somehow looks like everyone's dad and also every Australian prime minister. But if your dad or Scott Morrison doesn't need work right now, here are our picks for SNL's Walz. Mark Porschk. I feel like I know this guy, but I can't place him. I can't even place what he's been in. Oh yeah, he's in Better Call Saul in The Office. Yeah, he was Gil, wasn't he? No, that was Breaking Bad. I don't know what we do in the shadows. I've never watched that. Apparently he's very funny. Brian Doyle Murray, Bill Murray's brother. The voice of the Flying Dutchman in SpongeBob SquarePants. Colin Robinson. I don't even know who is Colin Robinson. Wait a minute, that's the dude that played Gil. I don't know what the fuck. Or is that the same dude? I'm so confused right now. I don't know what's going on. Why you gotta confuse me? Michael McKean? He could be pretty good. Jim O'Hare? I could see it. Bill Hader. Interesting. I don't know. About, like, do they have somebody on staff that could do it? I'd like to see their auditions. All right. Some of you have been getting into spooky season already. I know it. Curiouser already been in the Halloween aisle at several stores. It's time to start talking about demons and possessions and witches and demonic energy. Like Taylor Swift.
like days and days. And some of that's just emotional, hormonal, but I just think about the power that those kind of supernatural, dark witchcraft stories have over impressionable teen girls. And I really think it can have a foothold in their lives spiritually. And who knows, could lead them down a path like toward mediums and things like that, but it certainly is inhibiting a close relationship with Christ, don't you think?
Absolutely, 100%.
Absolutely.
And I'm thinking while you're talking also of the music industry.
So this woman is a former psychic turned preacher, grifter woman.
I know that would be another long conversation. Swift, Taylor.
What do you think about that? Something super controversial. Let's go.
I know you like the controversial stuff, Allie. All
Well,
right,
people
I'm
want to
here
know
for
this
it.
kind of stuff. It's only controversial because these things are popular, and what is popular has to be spoken into. So
Yes,
go for
okay.
it.
I'm happy to actually speak about it. I'm very passionate on this topic. And of course, we're seeing it not only with Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Madonna is such a repeat offender.
Madonna?
Lady Gaga. But Taylor Swift presents as this Christian-looking, innocent girl years ago. And then you see the darkness boldly, blatantly, when people are already Swifties. They're already hooked. What's the word I want to use? This is, Allie, I'm thinking of how this is mapped out. This is planned out. This is not a surprise.
Strategic?
This is
Okay.
strategic, I believe, on behalf of the enemy, to rope people in. And then it's like, now I'm going to hit you with my agendas because you're already a cult follower, C-U-L-T. And her music boldly promotes new age ideologies and concepts. Karma, the invisible string theory. They are
I don't
calling
even know what that is.
Invisible string theory.
The idea is that there's an invisible string. You already had me at that part, right? So there's an invisible string wrapped around your thumb, your pinky, whatever. And there's one wrapped around somebody else's thumb or pinky that you've crossed paths with at some point in your life. And because of that, okay, you are really, maybe that's your, here we go, shift into another new age, because that's how the new age works. One equals another one equals another one. Twin flame, soulmate, that must be.
This has to be AI.
It doesn't matter if you're married. That's okay. You don't want to let this chance pass you by. You want to go for this invisible string. We crossed paths. We met at the grocery store 7 years ago and again at the 7-Eleven. Wow, this must be, I mean, I'm really kind of understating it, but the idea is that, once again, that you have this energetic,
what does that have to do with Taylor Swift?
Twin flame, which are all lies and doctrines of demons, and she pushes these all out in her music. And then what happens? Then you have it go viral on TikTok, and you have people making these videos. They had a whole twin flame documentary on Netflix. It was difficult. I couldn't really get through it. It was so difficult to watch. It was sad and sickening. But back to Taylor, who really is a serial dater, and then is telling us about
serial daters
and dropping demonic symbols. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, at the Super Bowl with, well, I shouldn't say that she did it. I'm sorry if we
Her
take
friend.
Her friend did it. Forgive me.
What demonic symbols?
However, we are seeing her doing witchcraft on the stage.
What witchcraft?
Justifying it, making excuses for it. That's just choreography. Just like we're seeing at the Olympics, what they did at the Olympics, the Open. I know that's another, we're going from one controversial thing to the next, but
but the point is that we're seeing it in pop culture.
Yes.
And it is always presented, it seems like, as something that is beautiful and innocuous. And she is, Taylor Swift is beautiful. She is beautiful. And
Not really.
she has a lot of really good songs, a lot of very catchy songs. And her brand, I think, is very palatable for the mainstream because she's this bright, cheery, blonde woman who used to be a country star. And but you're right, there's certainly a God of self-worth.
I don't feel that she's beautiful. I feel like she's like unoffensive milquetoast basic bitch. Does that make sense? Like she's like advertising. She's non-offensive. Or no. She's like the kind of music they play at a doctor's office. It doesn't offend anybody. Dougie, have I told you good evening?
Worship there, not just in her music, and really a lot of pop music.
Grew up on a Christmas tree farm.
But I hadn't thought about or heard
Justin,
about
did I tell
this
you good
twin flame
evening?
thing and the invisible string. So that's really interesting. So the point is, be on the lookout. Don't be paranoid. It's not like, because I do think that there's a tendency sometimes for people to try to look for symbols in everything, and that can almost make you, it can almost drive you crazy.
You are
And
crazy.
it can also prohibit you from seeing, okay, well, how is Satan tempting you in your own life? Like, where's the sin in your own life? Because we can kind of only be looking for the symbols out there and not looking for the more subtle ways that Satan is tempting us, working in our lives, oppressing us with different fears. And so there is a balance there, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, 100%. I am thinking of the children again and how these
Well,
people
someone think of the
they become role
children.
models. And then if a Christian is so involved with, let's say, I'm just going to, again, just for the sake of the example of Taylor Swift, let's say, because I happen to know some Christian ladies that are calling themselves Swifties, letting their young girls listen. And when she promotes, I hate to belabor the point, but when she promotes anti-Christian, I mean bold. Again, I'm with you, Allie. I think that you can listen to. I listen to secular music. You know, I do from time to time, but I would be very discerning and very careful when you have. I mean, They Need to Calm Down was all about.
Yeah.
The show is called Relatable. Does anybody here find this relatable?
Christians
Yes,
and
yes.
the video
Battle Opossum, good evening.
sexual immorality in it, feeding this false Jesus communion, and it's just very sad and painting Christians as hillbillies that don't know how to spell. I think that you have to. I think when it's so in your face,
Ma'am, can you spell?
Of that?
Yeah.
But yes, I agree with you. Of course, we should be looking in the mirror. We should be coming to Christ every day, repenting for our sins. We should be confessing. And
It would be
asking
funny if
the Lord
relatable was
to
spelled
show us
wrong.
the parts of our hearts that need to grow, that need to be corrected.
I tried to get you to do a show with me.
Yes, and amen. Where can people
Amen.
find you to follow
It's
you?
not. It says Relatable. That's an R. It says Relatable. They didn't even spell it right. It is spelled wrong. It is apparently. I don't think it's Allie Beth Stuckey. We were watching Allie Beth Stuckey. I don't even know if it's true or not. I saw that it was, somebody said it was International Cat Day, so cats. And yes, this is the same video I played earlier, but not that many of you were here. Haha. Choose what color? What? What? Battle Opossum? What are you talking about? Choose the color of what? I am very confused with you right now. He's nuts. I'm sorry to everyone last night that when we were getting off, I was like, I'll see you on Sunday. Might pop up if there's a campaign rally. Totally thought it was Thursday. Was looking for a leftist mafia to raid into. Oh yeah, you can change your name on your Twitch chat. You can change it to whatever you want. It's almost Friday. A couple more hours. Well, depending on where you're at. So yeah, I'm sorry if anyone thought that there wasn't going to be a stream tonight. Yeah, the color of your name. You can change the color of your name in the Twitch chat. Be whatever color you want to be. I'm purple, I'm pretty sure. Because purple is my favorite color. Yeah, I'm purple. I thought about changing my name to Justin Muffins on Twitch. Just to see how things would go. You're showing up dark purple to me. I'm not seeing orange. Torchy's red. Quesadilla's purple. Sparkles is like the fuchsia color. Mitochondria is purple. A lot of people are purple. Purple is a cool color. Holiday got that green. Purgaturus rocking the gray. Oh shit. You're orange over here on the Twitch chat. Hey, you look purple to me. Sparkles looks purple. Yeah, DJ Dub is turquoise. Ducky is like a rusty pink color. Maybe salmon? Is that a salmon color? But how'd we get dog in here? Flash went green. I think if you go in your settings, like on a desktop or something, you might be able to use a slider or go in and do a color picker thing. And you can be like any fucking color. You're not showing up gray for me. You shit green. We're just acting stupid now. I'm sorry I don't have Billy Idol for you again tonight. That was really cool. I'll probably pop up again sometime this weekend. Who knows? The news been doing wild shit. Probably gonna be campaign rallies and all that good stuff. Let's go into Bender tonight. If you're watching on Twitch, you're heading over to Matt Bender for the Leftist Mafia. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's alright to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN. Yeah, I'll see you probably sometime this weekend. If not, it'll be Sunday night on the Troll Patrol live.